As the bubble season came to a close, the Lakers were the final team standing and they were crowned 2020 NBA champions. But in a shortened 2021 season, they were bounced in the first round by the eventual Western Conference champions, Phoenix Suns. This can be mostly blamed on injuries, as both LeBron James and Anthony Davis were not at 100% throughout the series. LeBron was nursing an ankle injury that he suffered earlier that season. AD was dealing with a groin injury that kept him out a few games in the playoffs, after already missing a decent amount of the regular season with a calf injury. After the conclusion of the season, the Lakers front office made a surprising move by trading for former MVP Russell Westbrook, the Washington Wizards. This deal had many mixed opinions throughout the league. The big question is, does Russell Westbrook actually help the Lakers, or does he hurt them? This trade seemed like a panic decision by the Lakers front office, which was made out of fear because of their early exit in this past season's playoffs, but it's been up in the air as to whether or not it was actually necessary. Russell Westbrook is a slashing point guard that won the NBA's League MVP award in 2017, but he is not exactly the same player as he was 4 years ago. Russ is not exactly a liked player throughout NBA social media, and many question whether his previous team's lack of success has something to do with him specifically. Westbrook was traded to the Rockets in July of 2019, and the Rockets tried a small ball style throughout the season and in the bubble, before eventually falling in the second round of the playoffs to LeBron, AD, and the Lakers. Following the season, Westbrook and Harden both expressed their desires to leave Houston, and in December of 2020, he was traded to the Wizards in a swap for John Wall. This past season, Russ, Bradley Beal, and the Wizards made it through the play-in and lost in the first round of the playoffs to the 76ers in 5 games as the 8th seed. Many people expected the duo of Westbrook and Beal to stick together in Washington going into this next season, but it seems that the front office had different plans. It has been rumored that Westbrook, James, and Davis met recently to discuss teaming up in Los Angeles, and I guess the Lakers front office liked the idea too. And on July 29th, 2021, the Lakers and Wizards agreed to a blockbuster trade that would send Westbrook to LA for Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Montrezl Harrell, Kyle Kuzma, the 22nd pick in the draft that same night, and 2 future second-round picks. The deal is done, and there is a new big 3 in the league, but the issue is that none of the 3 are great three-point shooters. In a league where shooting is the new norm, the Lakers' big 3 severely lacks it. So can this all actually work? Well, many people believe that it won't work without change. The Lakers were going to need to prioritize shooting in free agency, and they did exactly that. The Lakers brought in Carmelo Anthony, Kent Bazemore, Trevor Ariza, Wayne Ellington, and Malik Monk to space the floor for their team. This definitely helps with their glaring problems, but it doesn't exactly solve them. You gotta assume that their closing lineup will involve Westbrook, James, Davis, and 2 of those shooters previously named, but arguably the biggest strength of both Russ's and LeBron's games are dribbling into the paint and kicking to shooters. But this lineup makes it more difficult than in the past 2 years for the Lakers, specifically for LeBron James, who has 1 less shooter on the floor with Westbrook. The Lakers also lost a decent amount of depth in this deal by losing 3 quality rotational pieces for just 1 in return, and I do also want to remind people that just by adding 1 star doesn't necessarily make your team always better. It certainly could and it most likely will, but it's not necessarily a guarantee. The Lakers have clearly put all they have in this upcoming season as they continue to mortgage their future to win right now. But if this past season has shown us anything about Westbrook's play, it's that teams would probably be more willing to let him shoot from 3 as he shot just 31.5% from downtown this past season. LeBron James shot 36.5% from 3, and Anthony Davis shot an even 26% behind the 3-point line this past year. Unless a lot changes this offseason, this team could be in for some trouble. If some teams get hot on a nightly basis, especially with the NBA being considered a make or miss league from 3, which usually decides the final outcome of each game. I'm not saying that this team can't or won't win the NBA Finals, because they very well could prove me and a lot of other people wrong. But in my opinion, if you stack this team up to the other team with a big 3, I think the Nets are still superior, but only time will tell. These 2 teams are expected to meet in the NBA Finals next season, and many would assume that the only thing standing in the way of this matchup is health. Can this Lakers team of aging stars stay on the floor? This past season, both LeBron James and Anthony Davis played the least amount of games of any season in their careers. LeBron played in 45 and Davis played in 36 throughout the regular season. Davis also had one of the worst statistical seasons in his career, and he'll be looking to bounce back this season. The Wizards were also 2-9 with just Westbrook this season, so it is imperative that the other Lakers stars stay on the floor next year. But one thing is for sure, this Lakers team will be a ton of fun to watch this upcoming season, and I am intrigued by how the front office is putting this team together. It's also safe to assume that the players will do everything they can to make this work. considering they all wanted to play together to achieve one common goal: to hoist the Larry O'Brien Trophy next summer.